Good afternoon, and welcome to a new season of ASEC Conversations. Today, we are thrilled to have with us a true sports legend on and off the court, Ann Meyers Drysdale. At this time, I'll turn it over to our new host, Janae Reeves. Janae?
Hello, guys. It's nice to meet everyone, and it is a pleasure to be on this interview with you. I'm going to go ahead and start off a little easy. Growing up in San Diego, if someone had said that you would become one of the greatest women basketball players, what would you have said?
Well, first of all, I'm from a family of 11 children. My mom and dad are from Milwaukee, and they moved out to San Diego back in the 40s, I guess, when they got married. And I was number 6. So I was born out of the 6 children in San Diego, and then we moved to Chicago. So in the early days, I was kind of raised more so in Chicago and then moved out to Orange County, California in '64. So kind of a taste of Southern California and Chicago. But if somebody had said that to me, they wouldn't have said it, first of all, because my oldest sister, Patty, is probably the best athlete in the family. And so she was a wonderful role model and was always out there playing, even though she was 8 years older than I was. I was between 2 boys, so I was constantly playing with my brothers. And we played all sports, whether it was basketball or over the line or kick the can or Monopoly or cards. We're so competitive with a large family. But it was great that both our parents were supportive of their daughters just as much as they were with their sons.
You were the first woman to make the U.S. team while still in high school. You were the first woman to sign a 4-year scholarship to a Power 5 school, and you also were the first woman to sign a professional contract with the Indiana Pacers. So did that put any extra pressure on you at all?
No, it's just good timing. I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time, and people that supported me. Was there pressure? I don't recall. I just did what I loved to do, and I was allowed to do, and not in the sense that I was allowed to, but I was supported, and certainly my sisters were, as my brothers were. And so, girls growing up in the 50s and 60s and 70s, it really wasn't as popular to be athletic, and but I didn't know any different because of how I was raised. And so there was one time in elementary school when a teacher pulled me off the field and said, "You can't play football with the boys at recess because it's not ladylike." And I didn't know what that meant because I'd always played football with my brothers, or we threw the football around or the baseball around. And so, things like that in the sense of, pressure. I think you put pressure on yourself, not from outside people. And again, the opportunities to be able to do the things that I have been able to do in my life, I just came along at the right time and certainly supported by the right people.
And what was the biggest lesson you learned as an athlete?
Oh gosh, there's so many, and the Pyramid of Success by Coach John Wooden is very involved, part of my life and my fabric and my being at UCLA when my brother David played for Coach Wooden. And kind of being around that's just not sports, that's life. And but certainly being competitive, growing up in a big family, we're all very competitive, but also teamwork. You have to learn how to get along with people. It may not be for the benefit of you, but it's the benefit of the team, of the family. And certainly there's arguments, disagreements, things don't go well all the time, but certainly you just keep fighting. You never give up. And just the fact that you have the opportunity to try again. And the great thing about sports is we all fail and we all succeed. And but through those failures, through that adversity, how do you keep going? And that's life.
And who was your favorite athlete growing up?
Well, probably my sister Patty. And because I got to see her play with all these women that they basically opened the door for me and so many others. That I had the opportunity to watch them compete in softball and basketball and volleyball and all these other sports. But when I was in 4th grade, I read a book on Babe Didrikson Zaharias. And that gave me a dream to read about this woman athlete and that there was a book on somebody like that. And so it gave me a dream to represent the United States as in this country as an Olympian. And so I dreamed of going to the Olympics because of that book with Babe Dietrichson Zaharias. And certainly watching the Olympics with Wilma Rudolph and Wyoming Attias, who became dear friends. And I admired them so much, or Althea Gibson, and then Billie Jean King. But growing up basketball, there was no, sports that were really out there on TV, especially except for the men. And so I was a huge John Havlicek and Bill Russell fan from the Celtics. And but then when my brother David was playing, got to know a lot of NBA people, whether it be Julius Erving or Wilt Chamberlain or Jerry West and, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and so many people that have impacted my life.
Speaking of impact, how would you describe the impact basketball has had on you on and off the court?
Oh, huge. I mean, it's a game I love, and it's a game that has changed my life, or at least shaped my life. And the fact that not only was I able to play it, but also be able to teach it at camps and so forth, but now to be able to broadcast it for over 40 years. And it's still a thrill. I mean, whatever team I'm broadcasting for, if it's a home team, I believe that I go into every game thinking that we're going to win. And but if it's a neutral game, I just love the competition. I love talking about the players and their lives, and because I know that they have family members back home listening. And so I want to get their names right. I want to get, I don't take anything for granted as far as how many minutes somebody gets to play. I make a lot of mistakes when I'm broadcasting. I understand that, but I want to get better. And but I love the game of basketball. It's given me so many opportunities to travel the world and meet so many different people from all walks of life, and to be involved in the community and give back. And that's one thing that I've really enjoyed being with the Phoenix Mercury and the Phoenix Suns, is that how much work we do in the community, especially with the nonprofits.
You basically did my job for me. Speaking of broadcasting, how did being an athlete play a role in your transition to becoming a sportscaster?
Well, I had no intentions of being a broadcaster. That was the furthest thing from my mind. But at UCLA, I took some classes, and this professor really kind of changed my life. And so when I signed my contract with the Indiana Pacers, it was a personal service contract, and I would be with the organization as a player or as a broadcaster, and also community relations. So it really opened up the door for me in broadcasting, and then to be able to broadcast 5 Olympic games, and be in the men's NCAA tournament, calling the women's Final Four, and calling softball and volleyball, because I played 7 sports in high school and 4 at UCLA. But, broadcasting, I never thought that I would be in this kind of profession, but so grateful that I am, because it keeps me close to the game. And I'm always learning, because the game is always changing.
You talked about your position with the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury. How difficult has it been navigating through a pandemic right now with the players and inside of the front office?
Well, I came in 2007 with the Phoenix Mercury as the general manager and vice president with the Suns. So my focus really was on the Mercury. And then a few years after we won a couple of WNBA championships, the players and the coaches were fantastic. And they asked me to move over to broadcasting and be a vice president with the Mercury. So I'm not quite as involved in the daily lives of the day-to-day operations with the players, especially this year with both teams having gone to their separate bubbles. One in Orlando and one in Bradenton. And certainly the Mercury are still playing, and they have clinched a playoff spot. But the Suns playing in Orlando and going 8-0 was just so exciting. But, it took a lot of sacrifice and certainly a lot of focus from not only the players and coaches, but everybody else that was involved. We had the arena over at McDowell, the Madhouse on McDowell. We had that set up for this summer. And so certainly the one thing that's great is that Robert Sarver and the Suns and Mercury organization has stepped up, and they're going to use it as a polling voting place for people for November when it comes up, and just stepping up to the plate like that. And so, I don't have the day-to-day feel with the players and so forth, but just as a whole organization, all of us are informed. We're all involved in one way or another in helping each other out.
And throughout your career, you broke barriers and fought for equality. Given what's going on in our world right now, how important do you think that is for athletes to speak out for change?
I love the platform that athletes have. A dear friend of mine, Bill Russell, again, who was somebody that I idolize, has become a dear friend. And we're in the Basketball Hall of Fame together, and we went into the FIBA Hall of Fame together. And Bill is, he's going to be 87 in February. And I think about this person who was involved with the civil rights and the Jim Crow, who grew up in Louisiana. And his father and mother they moved out to Oakland, California, to get away from the South. The fact that we've had a Black president, things have changed. But I love the voices that not only the WNBA and the NBA players have, but the NFL and Major League Baseball and women's soccer and so many other sports that, it doesn't matter what your profession is or what you do. We're all American citizens. So we all have a voice. And so even though as an athlete, you're in the public eye, that shouldn't discriminate you from voicing your opinion. And especially systematic racism in this country. There's no question. And I love the fact that racial injustice, social injustice, equity pay for women, equality in women in general, the LGBTQ community. I think that there's so many issues that the athletes are standing up on, and they're not backing down. We can go through the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, all these riots and so forth, and the protesters have been unbelievable. And but it's unfortunate that politics do get in the way. But I think the athletes have been strong. They've been steadfast, and there will be change in this country. There has to be.
What did it mean to represent the U.S. in the 1976 Olympics?
The fact that I got to represent this country in the 1976 Olympics was my dream come true. I had actually, when I read my book on Babe Dietrich's and Zaharias, I wanted to do it as a track athlete. I was a high jumper and a pentathlete. And so the only two really organized sports offered to young girls back in the 60s was swimming and track and field. And so I read this book and I wanted to be a track athlete and the high jumping and so forth. And then slowly basketball kind of creeped in. And so in 1974, when I was in high school and I made the USA team, basketball kind of, I changed direction. And then to be on the very first women's basketball team in the 1976 Olympics, which is the first time they had women's basketball, and to be a starter on that team, and we won silver. There's no better feeling to represent your country and have USA on your chest. And, it's pretty special. And I will always cherish that time that I've been representing USA basketball.
And you were married to MLB Hall of Fame pitcher Don Drysdale.
Yes, I was.
Power couple. What did you both learn from each other?
I don't know if we were a power couple. We were powerfully in love. I know that. And I miss him tremendously to this day. We lost him in 93 with a heart attack, and our children, the boys, DJ and Darren, were 5 and 3 at the time, and our daughter Drew was 3 months. So family is very important to me. I don't know if I could have made it through some things without faith, family, and friends. But in saying that, Don was wonderful. Certainly he was older than I was, and I never really had the opportunity to see him play, even though I grew up in Southern California, and the Dodgers were pretty big in the 60s. I really was kind of unaware of who he was, and it was right after my tryout with the Pacers. So he definitely knew who I was. And I was invited to compete in something called the Women's Superstars. After I was playing in the WBL, the Women's Professional Basketball League, I was playing pro ball after I left the Pacers, and was MVP of the league that year. But he knew who I was, and competing in the Superstars, he and Bob Uecker were the announcers. And so that's where I met him. And we developed a very good friendship, and it became much better. And, I miss him every day, and I think about him every day. But certainly he was the love of my life.
In 100 years from now, what do you hope your legacy will be?
100 years from now, nobody's going to be around. No, it's like Jackie Robinson says, you just hope that you can make an impact in the life of a child. And, when people ask something like that, or what's on your tombstone, it just, we're here for a short while. when you do the best you can, as Coach John Wooden says, make each day your masterpiece. And he was very influential in my life, and certainly Don was, because he was taken away so young. And you just do the best that you can and trying to help other people back and give back.
As we wrap things up, congratulations on being inducted into the Arizona Sports Hall of Fame. What does this accomplishment mean to you?
Well, first of all, I just want to recognize all the others that are being recognized this year. It's a pretty cool group, and with Joe Caldwell and Paul Westphal, and just the others are just. I mentioned the basketball, but there's no question what an honor, because the people that are already in it are spectacular, and the ones that haven't gotten in, I'm just in awe that I was able to get voted in, because there's so many deserving people. This is very special to me, and I can't wait to share it with my family.
Thank you, Ann, for your time. It was a great conversation. Thank you, Janae. And to everyone who tuned in today, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on ASEC Conversations.